Hey there. So, my next guest is performing an absolutely essential function by helping to get high school students and find them a position in a college that allows them to grow and develop in the esports space. So not necessarily just playing, but the casting and the development and the producing and all the stuff that goes behind the scenes as well. So, the entities that he's been working on, it's absolutely essential for the esports ecosystem. I know you all are going to love this one. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Bradford Carlton. Today, I have a very special guest with us. I have CJ Collins. Hey there, CJ. How's it going?
Hi, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited. I love getting to do the different podcasts in the world. So thank you for inviting me to be a guest today.
Absolutely. Where do you hail from, CJ?
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where we are here. That's our headquarters down in downtown Charlotte.
Beautiful part of the world. And hopefully the weather's not too bad. It's a nice January day.
It's gorgeous, honestly. You know, I was actually in Colorado for New Year's, and we went skiing over there, but it was freezing, and I'm not one to love the cold temperatures. So we went there, and now that we're back, it's like being in 50 degrees as opposed to 5 degrees is a little bit of rewarding coming back to the home and it being so warm.
Yeah, even still, it's still cold. I'm over in Las Vegas, and it's like 58 today is the high, and I'm like, get the sweaters out.
I always have several layers on. So.
All right. So CJ, I like getting the show started just right into it. So why don't you begin by just telling us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah. So CJ Collins, AKA CLT Pathfinder. CLT is the city. So I go with that. And then Pathfinder, I was actually a Pathfinder in the military. So one of the things I did was set up aerial delivery zones and do a lot of air assault operations and stuff. So that's my background as a Pathfinder in the military. I enlisted when I was 17 years old. So it was like my first thing was jumping in the military. And right around the same time, I just loved playing Halo and Call of Duty. So I played that to make some side cash. And then, the full-time job was the Army, and kind of did that for it's been 13 years now. I'm in the reserves currently. So I was active duty for a portion of time during that. And one of the things I did first was jump on the Army esports program. So got involved with that very quickly once it got rolling, helped in the development of the process for several of the teams and rosters and really creating the community. Additionally, going out to some of the events and being able to help support the events, develop them and really, get the mission for the Army, which was how do we get more people recruited? How do we connect with our audience? So we did a lot of that stuff. About 3 years ago, I decided to get out of the military full-time, go part-time. I'm in the reserves here, but started two different companies, CLT Esports and the Charlotte Phoenix. So I was really just trying to get in the esports space, and there's nothing in Charlotte. It was just a bunch of very fragmented gaming organizations where I was like, let's come in together, make a holistic approach where we can do all things esports to really get local businesses, city council, different high schools, different colleges, and then the professional scene involved in the space to really push that esports initiative up for the entire city of Charlotte. And now, the East Coast is really our goal, is to be able to get people to come and use this as a central facility to be able to run all kinds of stuff esports related. So it's been a fun journey.
Beautiful. All right. We got a lot to talk about. Thank you for your service. And what I'm going to do is I ask every guest a single question to start. So we're going to go ahead and just do that here. Yeah. Everybody gets this question. So it's not just you. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being high, how weird are you, CJ?
How weird am I? I actually think I'm a pretty normal gamer. I actually think I go on the pretty normal side. So I'm going to say 1. I think I'm pretty normal on the, I'm not super weird as a gamer. I feel like I connect with a lot of people. So.
Why are you qualifying that? So you're not weird as a gamer. You're pretty normal as a gamer. Why are you saying it like that?
That's a great point. Because I think the world thinks gamers are weird. And I don't think I'm very weird. So.
I love that answer. That's exactly why I asked that question. Yeah, everybody seems to think gamers are a little off. They're a little strange or they're different. Like, I think it's just a hobby. Ultimately, when it comes down to it, we all just have a hobby that we share, and there's like 2.7 billion of us.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the Gamerpreneur podcast. So before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of what you do and the businesses you're building and all that fun stuff, I do need your gaming cred. All right.
My gaming cred?
Your gaming cred. When did you first start playing video games?
Oh man. I remember the first one was, a Christmas present. And it was a Nintendo 64. But my cousin also had an NES before that. So we would either play in the Nintendo 64 or the NES. And I don't know, probably 6 or 7.
Okay. And your love of gaming just continued right up to today?
Yeah, I've always been glued to the computer. I think that once they got me in front of any kind of gaming system, that was like the first thing I wanted to go do. And mostly for me, because like I always had to prove I was better than my cousin at the time, and he was way better than me. Like we'd play NFL Blitz was a big one back in the day, where you just tackle each other as much as you can. And
Mario. Way after the play is over, you're still tackling.
That's right. That's right. And so like he would kick my butt all the time because he had the NES at his house and I had the N64 at my house. So like when we came over and we played like Mario Kart, I would smoke him. No shot. He had no chance. But like I go over there and play NFL Blitz and he would crush me. So it was like, I never like, it was this constant battle where like, whose house are we going to? Because I got to try and beat you at this game. And like, I would get so mad because he would beat me all the time at that game. And then vice versa, he would do the same thing. He would always get so upset with me when I beat him on the other side. So that was like the beginning for me, where like, it was always about competition. And it's really reigned true for me forever. I played the Zeldas of the world and like the Skyrims and stuff, and the RPG stuff. I get into, like, I can play it, but like there's a different level when it's very competitive and there's somebody else I can beat on the other side.
Okay. And what do you play today, if anything?
I play pretty much everything. I think part of the job nowadays is really understanding and knowing what games are coming and how they impact the industry. So I spend a lot of time playing new games, I'm understanding, but when it's just me and the boys, it's always a classic esports title. So I'll play League of Legends or Call of Duty or Valorant or CSGO. So your typical, high AAA esports titles.
Okay. Last gaming related question, then we'll talk about the business side of what you do. Yeah. All-time favorite. If you had to pick one game, which one is it?
Halo 3, when it first came out. There was so much hype behind that game when it came out. It was, and like everyone played it. It was the game. Like there wasn't like any other areas, and everyone was always trying to prove they're the best at Halo. So
I do remember that era. Okay. So CJ, what got you into entrepreneurship? Because you were in the Army, and I'll admit, more entrepreneurs come from the military. You weren't in the Army. I'm sorry. You were in the Marines.
Army. Correct. No, Army. Right.
Okay. Yeah. So I apologize. Different guest. So you're in the Army, and I'll admit most new entrepreneurs do come from the armed forces. That just experience, there's something about it. Yep. But what was your catalyst? What got you to decide to do this?
I was working at a corporate job. So right when I got off of active duty, about that 3-year mark, I moved to Charlotte. I found a job working at a chemical and biological equipment plant. So I was writing technical manuals on how to use the training equipment. It was cool. It was fun. But like, I never got excited to wake up and go to work. And I would always find myself like looking at the Esports Observer or checking out a local esports team or looking at the college programs and seeing what they're doing, going to different LAN events in Charlotte, and just kind of watching and understanding and even playing at times. And like, I spent all of my time outside of work focusing on esports. And so at some point, like I was just like, dude, like I have to find a way to build this thing in esports, because being in the Army esports program really was like my taste, right? Like taste of like having an Army esports job, if you would. And then from there, it was like impossible to go back. So for me, it was, I wanted to do it and wake up every day doing something I loved, even if it meant like having not the most, lavish lifestyle. If there was no money in it, I would just wake up every day being excited to get to do what I got to do. And I think that that's the most important thing. And honestly, the last 3 years of my life have been so rewarding because of that, because I made that decision to really leave my job, take a whole lot of risk, get a little bit of hate from the family, or like, what are you doing? You're throwing away your career and things like that. But I get to wake up and do what I love every day. And there's nothing that beats that.
Beautiful. Okay. What has been the process like? You said you've been doing this for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you had some growth phase, and you're like, where are you at now? Like, how's this whole thing gone?
Yeah. So currently the biggest thing and like the huge announcement that we've really been talking about is the hub. So we've created a local hub that has 8 or 9 different companies within it that we're building out each one of those individual companies to do something very specific in the esports industry. So that's where it is today. And it honestly started with like a concept where I was like, let's run an event. I was like, I can run a better event than what I've seen these other guys run. I can find the equipment. I can find a way to fund it, all that stuff. I can find bigger and better sponsors. And I want to be able to give the players what they want from their perspective as well. And I felt like that that need was not being met. So I, more closer to 2 years ago, right after I kind of left my job, completely focused on how can I make the best event possible. And that's just one area of a vertical that we have currently. But it was super grindy. But it was like me in front of my computer late at night every night trying to figure out how to do XYZ thing. But it was very exciting at the time.
Okay. And what are some of the challenges you've faced as you've grown these businesses?
I think the biggest thing that I struggle with, even to this day in some ways, is it's really hard to get people going the right direction doing stuff, providing that exact vision for others. I think that's one of the things that has always been really, really hard for them to kind of see the end result of what it looks like at the end of the day. I think that I get it, in my brain, I try and understand that to the fullest and what it could be, but it's sometimes hard to reach those little milestones with a team of people going a direction. So that's probably my biggest struggle. But it's become easier. I think that, I've surrounded myself with some folks that help me with those kind of things, that help me support and lead and manage our staff to be able to build all these verticals. So.
Okay. The purpose of my show is to get as much advice as I possibly can out of my guests for my audience. So what were the exact steps that you were able to do to be able to go down the right path? If you were struggling, you had advisors telling you what to do. What did they tell you? What steps did you take?
Yeah. So, a lot of times it was micro decisions on how to position an event, how to do the promotional stuff, right? What is that end user looking for? How do we get them to the point where they can, understand what the event is from the marketing standpoint of things, so that when they show up on day of, they know exactly what it looks like. How do we staff all of it? I think were the bigger questions on what person can I put here at the front desk so that when person shows up to the event, they have that person welcoming them and showing them what they need to do next, and making sure that everything's okay. And then the admins behind the scenes, right? So them running the tournaments themselves. So there are a lot of these little pieces and little conversations that just happen in daily life where I think that without those mentors, I wouldn't have been able to do that stuff, right? I needed somebody to bounce the ideas with. And I've also kind of gone through this phase of thinking I can do it all by myself, where I can't. It's almost impossible for you to do it by yourself. And you can only surround yourself with people that have really, really good ideas, figure out what the best ideas are that you can implement and move forward, and really listen to everyone in the room. And sometimes it's really hard to do that. It's really, really easy to kind of do what you think is right. But it's super important to keep listening to those around you so that you can make those really good decisions for the organization.
Okay. And what is your role with the organization, and what kind of responsibilities do you have?
It depends on the company. So when we talk about our, our 9 different verticals, so the 3 that I'm most involved with on the daily basis, the first is I'm the director of operations for Stay Plugged In, which is a recruitment platform, right? So our entire platform is about recruiting kids, getting them from high school to college, right? So within that platform, I manage the entire staff and all the leagues that we're building and the events that we're running. Everything kind of goes through my desk at some point or time, right? So managing that staff is really the big operation. And then additionally on the side of that, whenever I have free time, the Charlotte Phoenix, the professional team that we run here, manage the staff for that and how we're growing that vertical. And then the last one is the event side of stuff. So if we're going to run a local camp here, or we're going to teach girls in a coding class how to do some coding, and then how to play a game or a game title of some type like that, right? All of those pieces, those are the 3 big verticals that I focus on. So events, camps within the current industry, Charlotte Phoenix operations from the day-to-day business, and then Stay Plugged In operations from a day-to-day business. And there's 3 or 4 other verticals that some of my partners manage.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
What makes you good? There's lots and lots and lots of gamers out there who would love to be doing what you're doing, but the vast majority of them are not. Sure. So obviously you have to be doing something special or different. What is it? What's your special sauce?
So I would definitely say the thing that I have done that's made me more successful than others is that I do my best to not get narrow focused on a specific thing, right? My favorite game to play on a day-to-day basis right now is Call of Duty, right? I play a lot of different other titles, but I always come back to Call of Duty. So it's really easy for me to think about everything in the esports world as Call of Duty, looking at it from a Call of Duty lens, right? And a lot of people in my shoes make the mistake of not looking at it from every game's lens, right? What does that look like from each perspective of each different player, of how the micro of the culture of that game exists? And I think that that's something that we've done really, really well, is understanding the cultures of each individual game and title. And that's given us a lot of success because we're able to speak to those different groups differently.
Okay. And is that something that other organizations are not doing well that you do better?
I think so. Yeah, I think that a lot of people focus on one thing. People in the esports industry, I've noticed, focus on the thing they know, right? It's like the only thing that they stick to. Like, hey, I only know this XYZ title, and because of that, that's the only thing they focus on, and that kind of gets them derailed at times because they can't necessarily be all things to all people at times within the bigger ecosystem of stuff, right? So if you're a tournament organizer, you only run Smash tournaments, and that's the only Smash tournament. That's the only tournament you know how to run. Like, it makes so much sense to be able to layer stuff like that by running a Call of Duty or a League of Legends or a Valorant or a CSGO tournament with some of that stuff, right? It includes the amount of people you have showing up. It does a lot of great things for the brand, but it's hard because it's new and it's different. It's something you don't understand. You have to take the time to really learn and understand each of those games and how they operate and what they are.
Okay. Speaking of taking the time to learn these things,
Yeah.
you said that you've been doing this for 3 years. What do you wish you had known when you were first starting out? 3 years is a lot of time. You've picked up a lot. If you could go back in time and like hand yourself a cheat sheet, what would be on that list?
So, oh my gosh, I say 3 years kind of loosely within the Charlotte scheme. I mean, back in the day, 15 years ago, I was running the high school gaming program, right, at Parkland High School in good old Pennsylvania. So like, you learn a lot of things along the way. I think that great entrepreneurs continue to learn no matter what. So I always try and focus on how can I make myself better in any specific area. If I could not have to go through a painful lesson, I think that the most painful lesson I'd have to learn is to not be everyone's friend. And because it's really, really easy, especially in our industry, to kind of treat employees as friends. And it can lead to some dangerous stuff. And you have to be able to learn to separate when a business decision needs to be made, whether it's you letting somebody go or having a hard conversation about how they need to correct an action. And I was in the beginning way too nice with that stuff. And I should have been harder on some of my employees. And I think we would have been more successful because of it.
Okay, beautiful. Now, bouncing off of that, I'd like to humble you if possible. I ask, I don't want anybody to think my guest is Superman. I don't want them to think that they're perfect, that they had this wonderful life, everything was sunshine and rainbows, not a raindrop came along.
Yep.
And so at this point in the interview, I always ask essentially the same question, which is, I believe we learn most from our life from our failures, not necessarily our successes.
Absolutely.
Because you might be able to like weasel your way into a success and not realize what happened. But a failure, you get smacked in the face, knocked down. You got to figure out what happened. You got to pull yourself up, dust yourself off, and be able to move forward. So I'd like to ask you, what do you consider your biggest failure in life, and what did you learn from it?
Oh my gosh, this is like my most resounding thing that always comes back to this. And all the military people are going to think this is. I don't know what they'll think. Who cares? So there's a school that it's normally like a prerequisite to Pathfinder school. So I'm a Pathfinder. I went to like this advanced school where it's a lot about math and calculations and how you build stuff, right? Before that, there's a school called Air Assault. And within the Air Assault school, it's more physical. It's more about how to conduct, an aerial inserts and kind of tactical thing, right? And it's a lot of physically demanding stuff. The last thing you do is a 12-mile ruck, and you have to do it in less than 3 hours. You got to travel 12 miles, and you got 75 pounds on your back. There's some rappelling. You do rappelling out of a helicopter and stuff like that. And I was on day 11. Last day, I had to do my 12-mile ruck. I had crushed everything before that moment. And there's a thing called the fatal hookup where like you're rappelling off a wall or a helicopter. And so this is like a practice round on a wall, and I rigged the rope wrong. And they're like, no, not a big deal. You did it wrong the first time. You've been practicing this for the past, 5-6 days. You can do this again. You get one more shot. But if you fail it, you don't get to graduate. And I failed twice in a row. Had a bad day. Just was not on my game. And it was, you don't go through those 12 days and like it's a short time, but like it's extremely painful process, those 12 days. And it's always haunted me that I failed that one school. And it has been my one determining thing of like, hey, you got to make sure you do this right the first time, and take your time and that attention to detail, because somebody's life can be on the line. And in that case, my life would have been on the line. If I had done a fatal hook up in like a helicopter, I would have fallen to my death. Right. So like, you can't do that stuff. And so that's one that's has haunted me for a long time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. Kind of a related question, but not on the negative side. What is something you're working to improve on yourself today?
Um, I think one of the areas of that I have for an improvement standpoint is the production piece, right? Like exactly what you're doing on the side here, being able to host different channels and shows and things like that, being able to integrate graphics and overlays and things like that. Never been my strong suit, but I've been every day learning more and more and more. And I do a vlog, so I actually have a channel where I push YouTube videos. And this year, so 2019, I did it a lot. Last year, I did not do it a lot. I filmed a lot, but I haven't edited it much. But coming into this next year, I want to do one a month, right? So one video per month on just kind of life in esports and my family life and just, anything that I really can film and put on there. But I want to get better at the actual editing process of that, making some sexier stuff so that it's a little bit more entertaining to watch. So that's probably one of my biggest areas of improvement currently.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Speaking of sexy, please tell me more about your businesses. Like, I was so excited to have you on the show, and you kind of you tried to gloss over it. Like, no, please tell me about what you're doing.
So the one that I'm primarily focused on is definitely Stay Plugged In. And Stay Plugged In is so cool in the way that it's really been impacting my life in a positive way, because we run leagues and we have a platform, a website, espin.gg, essentially where, high school kids will come on our platform. They'll make a player profile. It'll include their GPA, where they're from, favorite games, rank, and essentially they'll go through this process of us filling out a profile with them, getting to know them a little bit more every single day, with the goal that we are training them to be really concrete folks that the college esports teams can go and grab and collect, right? So, we'll teach them video editing. We'll teach them how to run tournaments. We'll teach them how to cast. We'll teach them how to be on camera. We'll teach them all of the different skills that's going to benefit their college program, right? And then essentially we'll connect the dots, right? So we've been facilitating conversations between high schools and colleges this past 4 months, and it has been awesome. And the biggest thing that I get as a rewarding factor is like seeing their parents change their thoughts about the esports industry has been amazing, right? Because we do a lot to build structure around the current esports industry. It's kind of fragmented right now. It's really, really easy for kids to not talk to their parents about the esports opportunities exist. And we kind of force them to have those conversations. We have them play in leagues. We give them a coach. We essentially walk them through what the process looks like. We hold them accountable when they're late or when they do things that they're not supposed to be doing, with saying inappropriate things on the internet, whatever, helping manage their social media profiles. And really, it's changing the way that parents are looking at the industry. And I think that's a big step in the right direction for the entire ecosystem, not just the high school students, but really being able to change their life has been so satisfying to be able to watch them grow. And I kind of imagine myself as like a baseball coach or a basketball coach, or watching those kids grow up and get a college opportunity to go play that sport, right? And this is that exact same thing. And watching that process is so fun and exciting. And so that platform has been really taking up a lot of the time and things that we're working on from the Stay Plugged In perspective. But the recruitment engine is really been so fun, so exciting.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
How has that been trying to integrate into the college space, going from high school into college? I mean, there are a few college programs out there, but is it really all that widespread yet?
Yeah, so we've talked to just about every college there is. Excuse me. And we've done 250 podcasts at this point with college programs that have some kind of program, whether it's a club program where it's student run, or whether it's a varsity program that has scholarship dollars they can dedicate to their players. Right. But I envision that changing very drastically to that number will be at 1,000, I think, by the end of 2021, if not higher. So like that is going to continue to grow because there's a demand for it. The kids want to play. Like they go to school, and what they do is if they go to a school that doesn't have an esports program, they build it themselves. Right. And so that whole process is going to continue to grow and explode, in my opinion.
How cool it's been to be able to watch that grow.
Oh yeah.
Like, even if we just went the 3 years, right? But you said 15, but if just the 3, it has to have grown immensely in that time.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. So I think the first Bob Morris University, I think was the first one. And that was in 2016. Right. So it's only 4 years ago for the first one. And now, we're at 200. And you would be amazed with the amount of schools that like, it's almost impossible for us to track all of them because the amount of ones that are out there that are operating in different levels. And the administration is starting to see it, I think, as you get more and more buy-in and see the benefits that come, and their enrollment rates are going up, right? So like, who could blame them? They're getting kids to come to school. Part of it is because they're just enticing, like the whole like college years or for hanging out and meeting friends. Like esports is just one of those hobbies, like you said at the beginning of this, of like they hang out and they meet friends and they can meet, potential dating, like they can meet girls and boys. It doesn't matter. Like it's just a local hobby that they have together. And then you get the competitive aspect where like there's 5 superstar League of Legends players on your local team and they walk around like superstars too. So like you get all the elements of regular sports. It's so cool. I love it.
All right. CJ, this has been awesome.
Yeah.
How do people find you? How do they reach out to you? Where are your businesses online? All of that, please.
Yeah. So if you go to my Twitter, that's probably the best place to find all the different businesses. And that's CLT_Pathfinder. And my email and everything is on there. So if you want to find me on Twitter or LinkedIn, you just look up Clarence Collins. I go by Clarence on LinkedIn because that's what the C stands for. But yeah, it's if you want to connect, feel free to shoot me a message on Twitter or find my email on the website. I'd love to chat with you about everything that we have going on, or if you want help or advice or whatever, I'm more than happy to be able to provide that aspect as well.
Beautiful. All right, CJ, as we wrap this up, do you have any final thoughts you want to share or anything I didn't ask you think we still need to cover?
No, I appreciate it. I love podcasts are so fun. It's fun to be able to meet new people and be able to hang out and chat. So just thanks for having me on, and I really appreciate it. And kudos to you, man. I think that you've done a really, really great job with your platform in this show. I've seen a lot of really cool guests on it, and I think that you're going to continue to have success with the guests that you've brought on.
Thank you very much. I genuinely appreciate that. And I genuinely do appreciate as well that you came on today. I do 3 interviews a week, and to be able to find warm bodies.
Absolutely. I'll even come back.
Absolutely. Sometime
we can do an update video in a year or something. I don't know.
I've had a lot of people offer. I think I might as well just do that at some point. I'd be able to fill an entire month with just those.
There you go. The update. It's like the Shark Tanks when you watch the update, where are they at?
Where are they now? All right, CJ, thank you again.
Of course.
And for everybody else, I'm going to remind you all, don't be just a gamer, be a gamerpreneur.